From a men's prison to a women's prison. Tune in Sunday night at 9 on 93.9 FM, AM 820, or live stream it at wnyc.org.
You're listening to Marketplace on WNYC. In the 7 o'clock hour of all things considered catastrophic implosion. All 5 passengers aboard the missing Titan submersible are believed to have died. That's according to OceanGate, the company that developed it. We'll hear more at 7 o'clock. Stay with us.
This is Marketplace. I'm Kai Ryssdal. Undergraduate enrollment in this country since the pandemic began is down more than 1 million students. In that same period, though, historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, are seeing an increase in enrollments and a pickup in philanthropic and corporate donations. Still, though, HBCUs lag other institutions economically. So we've gotten Dr. Andre Perry on the phone to talk things over. He is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. Good to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Could you give us a quick thumbnail sketch of the current state of HBCU funding in this country, please?
The 10 largest HBCU endowments in 2020 totaled just $2 billion compared to $200 billion across the top primarily white institutions. HBCUs are chronically underfunded due to largely to state underinvestment, lower alumni contributions, and lower black incomes and wealth. So those endowments really reflects the loss of wealth in black individuals.
So given this moment, or the moment we had, I suppose, in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd and the increased interest in black economic development in this country, are you surprised that HBCUs still are where you point out that they are?
I'm not surprised because after 2020, there was a lot of philanthropic giving. People wanted to respond to George Floyd's tragedy by giving essentially sympathy dollars. But that kind of funding is really not the kind of funding that we consider investment. Given the pound for pound impact that HBCUs provide to communities, you would think there'd be greater investment, and as a result, the communities are also suffering. The communities that host the HBCUs are also suffering because colleges and universities by default are the economic development organizations in those places.
So there is obviously an element, a sizable element of structural economic racism in the reasoning behind HBCUs not being as endowed and invested in as they ought to be. But you wrote a piece at Brookings last year in which you point out that HBCUs, there is a need to understand that story better and for them to tell the story better.
Yeah, the HBCUs are doing such a great job of graduating students, and we just need to understand how much that matters to the community overall. The amount of the degrees that they produce, the amount of money those graduates produce, it's not reflected in the overall investment in those institutions, and as a result, those institutions are struggling a bit. In addition, HBCUs are treated like black people, so you don't see the kinds of investments overall, which leads to less land and property acquisition. You don't see investments in the sports teams. You saw that during the Jackson State, Deion Sanders issues. We're just not seeing the investment, but it's in the face of production overall.
Right. Okay, so we talked about George Floyd and what that could conceivably have meant for HBCUs in this economy. I want to take sort of the flip side of that coin and ask you about the state of Florida and Governor DeSantis and his efforts to quash and squash DEI in that state and the spread of it to others. It does seem a perilous moment for HBCUs.
Yeah, most HBCUs do not have DEI programs. However, what DeSantis is doing is really challenging the notion of should we have an HBCU? And that's a question that comes up all the time. And it's really shameful given the production of HBCUs. But remember, that if it were not for HBCUs, if it were not for the Black teachers that came out of HBCUs, we would not have the advancements in knowledge around slavery, Jim Crow, racism, discrimination, because we clearly see a reticence to learn those subjects. So we need to continuously fund and support these institutions.
Dr. Andre Perry is a senior fellow at Brookings, where he studies, among other things, education and leadership. Dr. Perry, thanks for your time, sir. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Most people who own homes in this country are hanging on to them. The number of existing homes, that is, not new construction, used homes, if you will, the number sold in May was 20% lower than it was a year ago, so says data out this morning from the National Association of Realtors. And even if they want to move, people who bought or refinanced even a couple of years back aren't much interested in giving up a 3% mortgage if buying a house now means having to pay 6%. So Marketplace's Stephanie Hughes looked at what, if anything, could get people moving.
Sleepovers are not really doable in Kate Sam's household.
You can hear everything from anywhere.
Sam has 2 kids, ages 4 and 8, and she'd like to sell their small home in Baltimore to buy a bigger place so they could host sleepovers. But Sam and her husband refinanced their mortgage in 2021 at a rate of 3%. And now?
It's just unimaginable to give up the current cost.
Lots of people are choosing to stay put, even if they'd rather sell. Lawrence Yoon, chief economist of the National Association of Realtors, says he actually expects there to be fewer divorces this year.
The couple may not like each other, but they love their 3% mortgage rate, so they don't want to give that up.
Yoon says others may avoid taking new jobs if it means relocating. But there are certain life changes that might cause people to make a move, even at these higher rates. Like having a 3rd child when you live in a 2-bedroom condo. Jonathan Miller leads Miller Samuel, a real estate appraisal and consulting firm in New York.
At some point, the financial benefit of staying in the same space loses its luster, so to speak.
Others want less space and a different layout, says Mark Goldman, a loan officer with C2 Financial Corporation, a mortgage brokerage.
A lot of people, when they age, they want a bedroom on the first floor. They don't want to be dealing with stairs.
And then there are those sales where the seller won't need to buy a new place.
What I've been suggesting to my real estate agents is watch the obituaries. You know, a lot of times when somebody passes away, the kids don't want the house. They want the cash.
And if rates do eventually go down, say back into the 5% range, appraiser Jonathan Miller says he expects all those people who've been holding out to stick up a for sale sign so they can finally get divorced or host that sleepover. I'm Stephanie Hughes for Marketplace.
Justin Ho was telling us a little bit ago about how businesses figure out when and by how much they should raise prices to try to keep up with inflation or maybe get ahead of it. And as we heard, it's a lot easier to make those decisions when you've got years of experience under your belt. So what's it like when you've got 1 year under your belt? Welcome to today's installment of our series, My Economy.
My name's Larry Groves.
And my name's Ricky Barossa.
And we're the owners of the Growing Groves plant shop in Davis, California. We have people come into the store and they're like, you guys have been here for like 2 or 3 years now, right? And we're like, no, it's been 13 months, you know? And we both kind of feel like we've aged 10 years in 1 year just because when you have a small business, you work 8 days a week, 27 hours a day, and it's just like nonstop. Also, like being able to pay off all of our business loans in the first year, you know, not taking paychecks, making sure that the store's paid off within the first year and like it's ours. We own it and like it's a great feeling.
In the past year, I think just learning about our customer base here in Davis, trying to understand what they like, what they don't like, how do we deal with the prices, I think that's been very illuminating. We just have a good relationship with our customers, and we ask them, like, what would you like to see? Like, what should we bring to the store?
My goal when we opened the store was like, we need to be affordable to everyone because plants are a luxury, but they shouldn't be a luxury price. We have had to increase the price of some things because of inflation, but $1 on top of whatever the price of something was before isn't going to impact as much as other places where something was already pretty pricey and now it's going up a few dollars in price and they're not going to be able to sell it because it's too expensive. It was already a luxury price and now it's an unachievable luxury price, you know?
Yeah. And of course we're worried about like just, sales and stuff, like normal business stuff. But I think just the way that we're rolling out the business slowly, it definitely helps us just, deal with issues.
Yeah, we're still guessing, but we're definitely sleeping more than we were like 8 months ago. Now we have a couple days off and we can like focus on spending more time together and not be together in the store, which is really great.
Yeah, we can definitely recharge and come back to the store refreshed and ready to see what we can change or update or whatever.
Yeah, I slept like 6 hours the other day. It was great.
Larry Groves and Ricky Barossa feeling well rested up in Davis, California. If your small business is keeping you up at night, or if you are finally getting some shut-eye, we want to hear about it. Marketplace.org/myeconomy. This final note on the way out today, some new data out from the Labor Department on how we spend our time. It is called, conveniently enough, the American Time Use Survey. Here is just one tidbit. On days they worked, the survey says, 34% of people who were employed did some or all of their work at home. 69% did some or all of their work at the office. Here, though, is the kicker, and I would ask that all bosses in the audience and within the sound of my voice cover their ears. On average, those who worked at home in this economy worked 5.4 hours a day. Those who worked in the office, 7.9.
Marketplace is supported by the Financial Times, whose distinctive pink pages have reported U.S. news for over 130 years. There's more at fearlesslypink.com. And by Financially Inclined, a podcast from Marketplace is all about money lessons for living life your own way. Listen to Financially Inclined wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, we're going. Here, though, is your moment of economic context. And really, it's more like a moment of, really? In 2023? One more from the Time Use Survey. On an average day, 22% of men in this economy did housework. That's cleaning, laundry, what have you, compared to 47% of women in 2023. What are we even doing? John Buckley, John Gordon, Rick Carr, Diantha Parker, Amanda Peacher, and Stephanie Seek are the Marketplace editing staff. Amir Babawi is the managing editor. I'm Kai Rizdal. We will see you tomorrow, everybody. This is APM.
WNYC supporters include City Harvest,